So this Wing Chun class was more of the last Wing Chun class. We did a lot of practice for that test, but we spent a little bit more time on the different things so I could see them more. But for me, mainly that meant Tan Sao, Pak Sao, and Jian Shou. I promise I'll learn that third one in Cantonese, so I don't have that weird language switch in the middle. I'm not going to go into much of it because I talked about it before, but it was pretty basic. Did practice stuff. For me, a couple things I've done before. For everyone else, probably a much more useful class. I guess I'll have to see before my first test how I think about these classes to really see how useful they are. Because being so new, for me, there's definitely a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. I don't know what it is. But I do still get to practice the things that I am practicing, so it's better than practicing at home still. One big thing about this class, though, is this was, I think, my first class where I had work on both days. The previous week was still a weird week at work, but this week was just a normal week. And it's going to be difficult to get out to class with work on both Monday and Tuesday. Friday is a no-go because Friday's class is earlier and I don't get out of work on time enough to get there, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. Friday can't go at all. Monday, I think I'm probably just going to have to leave a little bit early, so I'm just not going to be able to stay for the whole class, I think, which is unfortunate, but hopefully that new school opening up near my apartment will solve some of my problems. Definitely not something I thought about when I started going to class in the summer. Probably should have, though. I took a much-needed break last week. I was pretty beat, so I didn't go to any classes last week. But I'm back today with a Wing Chun class. Today's the first class at the new school, which is much closer to my apartment than the old one was, which is great because now that I've gone back to work, it's very hard to go out to Luohu for class. I just can't swing it. This new close place, though, means I will still be able to go to some Wing Chun classes. The head instructor will also be teaching because it's like a graduation class. I won't be graduating, though. I haven't been there long enough, so for me, it's just a normal class. But it means there's probably going to be a lot of people there. Okay, this class was the very first class at the new Futian school, which I'm really excited for because it is much closer to my apartment, so I'll still be able to go during work weeks. I really hadn't planned those classes well when I first started going to Wing Chun over the summer, not anticipating how difficult or impossible it would be to go to those classes when I have to work. But this new school in Futian is very close, so there will be no problem getting there after work. The class also, however, was a graduation. So the head instructor came, a whole bunch of other instructors who I didn't recognize, who I'd never seen before were there, and all the students who were grading did their grading. So for students like me and other people who weren't grading, the beginning of class was kind of long because each group had to go up and do their grading before we did anything. But there was some class at the end. The first thing we did was a Pai Da to clear the opponent's guard, which is the exact same thing as something that we had done in JKD weeks ago. It's in one of the old videos. I'll try to find which video it's in and link it up top, but it was the exact same defense. I mentioned in that video that it seemed very Wing Chun-y, and this is probably why, because it is Wing Chun. So the defense was from your normal stance, you come in and you Pai Shou, Pak Sao their guarding hand so that you can then punch. You sort of trap that front hand against them so that you can then punch. But we added more to it. In JKD, that's all we did was that Pai Da. But in JKD, we added a bit. So we did the Pai Da, and then we assumed that the opponent managed to block it. So they managed to block that punch with their other hand. So then we took the hand that did the Pai Shou and brought it under the attack to clear their hand out of the way and attack again. Pai Da, and then came under to clear and attacked again. The other person had their hand trapped, but they managed to block that punch. Then the other person brings their Pai Shou hand, their Pak Sao hand, underneath, and then moves it out of the way so that they can attack again. So bring it under and attack again. So that was a cool continuation of the move. That was more than we had done in that JKD class, and it was the first time I'd seen it in this Wing Chun class too. So it was really cool to build on something from another class like that, something we'd done in JKD that we're now building on in Wing Chun. That sort of cross-class thing I thought was super cool. Also, I really like that move. It's nice and quick, right into the punch. So to see the follow-up move was pretty great. After that, we did some tan da as a defense to a hook punch. So the other person is coming in with one hook punch, two hook punches, and you're blocking with a tan da and then another tan da to both hook punches. I kind of like it. It's nice and quick, stopping that hand with the tan sao. But I had a little bit of trouble with the distancing, because if you block the hook punch below the elbow, like closer to their shoulder, the hand can still come around and hit you. So you have to make sure that you're blocking the forearm so that they can't still bring it around and punch you, but also being close enough to punch them. That shouldn't be too hard because their arm is bent and your arm is straight. You can hit them from farther away, but I was still having a little bit of trouble getting my body in the right position to block and punch. I think that was maybe the first time I've done much of that. I think I've seen it before in class, but I haven't practiced it that much. So it's understandable that I wouldn't be great at it. Hopefully we do more of it so that I can get a little bit better. While we were doing it, the big thing we were focusing on was doing them together, simultaneous attack and defense. The head instructor talked a lot about that and about relaxing as you're doing that attack and defense until the moment of contact when you tense up to create the power. So not being really tense through the whole thing, but being sort of relaxed until you hit, which is something I'm really bad at. I've said it 100 times, I'm not very good at relaxing. So another good thing to practice. I think on my own though, I need to be practicing it with something I'm better at. Since I wasn't super great at that tan da, it was a little difficult to focus on the tan da and relaxing right until the moment of impact at the same time. So I'm going to pick something that I'm a little better at to practice it, or practice it without an attack, sort of maybe like on a heavy bag or something. So there's one fewer variable for me to have to focus on until I get better at it, and then I can add the other variable back in. And that was pretty much all we did for that class because, like I mentioned, the whole beginning of class was taken up by graduations, by gradings, so we didn't have as much time for class stuff, if you will.